And welcome back to a new episode of the Women's Strength Society show. Today we're starting a two-part series about my pregnancy diaries. So if you're not interested at all into anything pregnancy related, then go back to the other episodes, listen to some old ones, wait for the next ones. But today, for all the ladies who asked me about it in my DMs on Instagram, to share a little bit more about the baby belly and what I did for my training in nutrition, we are chit-chatting today a little bit about that. This episode today is about nutrition specifically, and the next one is about everything I did or did not do for my training. First question for you. I know you're not pregnant, it's me. But what did you observe with me, my nutrition and pregnancy? 3 things.
Yeah, 3 things. So the first one was that you were definitely more hungry in the first trimester. And I don't know if it was mainly like a mindset thing. I don't think it was. Maybe part of it was it, but I think it was also like physiological changes. And so at the beginning of your pregnancy, then it was definitely like, hey, I want to eat a burger, a sandwich. I don't recall exactly what you wanted to eat, but definitely like more
Pizza?
Pizza, it was not that much, but definitely like things that are a bit heavier.
Bit more fatty and salty.
Definitely not too much like sweet cravings and that sort of things. Definitely more in the salty realm. So that was one, which was kind of surprising because nowadays, the recommendation is that in terms of weight gain and changes in nutrition is that the first trimester remains pretty much exactly the same as it was before, and that you experience very little weight gain. And for you, it was definitely not the case. And so our hypothesis is that you started at from a very lean place, and the body needed to have a bit more substance and reserves in order to be able to go through that pregnancy, or like as a preparation for pregnancy, labor, and then breastfeeding. So we will never know for sure if that was the case, but that's our theory. So that was number 1. Number 2 was you had no cravings, like crazy cravings whatsoever. Sometimes we hear about pregnant women trying to eat pickles and Nutella, or like, I don't know, in the middle of the night, like, oh, I need strawberries and then a piece of cheese, or I don't know. But this is something that, I can remember one specific song of a French singer-songwriter who's very, very well known, or was well known back in the days. He writes like beautiful text, and there's one song where he talk about her wife, girlfriend, I don't know, getting pregnant and what happens, and he talks about her having cravings for strawberries.
For strawberries.
And so this is something that's stuck in my mind, and it's interesting because this is something that's pretty old, because we were talking about that recently, and you were like, hey, maybe this is something that comes from social media, that we say that women has like crazy craving during pregnancy, and I'm like, no,
strawberries are not crazy.
Yeah, true that.
They're not like crazy strange cravings.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. Anyways, there was like
cravings.
No crazy cravings of like super strange combination of tastes and textures or whatnot. Yeah. Like the only thing was a bit in the first trimester, a bit of like, hey, I want to get my burger. I have 2 more. Actually, you asked for 3, but I have 2 more.
Okay.
The next one is you had very little to no nausea.
Only twice.
Only twice. Like literally only twice.
Yeah, twice.
And so I think that eating a solid breakfast very shortly after you woke up definitely helped. This is also like when we were searching about that topic, then this is also what came out. It was like, hey, try to get some things that are very easy to digest, like pretzels and crackers and white toast. Those were things that were advised, and this is always part of your breakfast, and so I think it helped. Also having some protein I think helped for some reason. So that's another one. And then the last one is that you are actually less hungry and weight gain is a bit less now at the end of the second trimester and entering in the third trimester, where we'd hear like, hey, this is a time where you need to eat a lot more and where weight gain is going to happen much faster. And hunger might also be higher because changes in metabolism and that sort of things, and this is not really what we observe. And so right now, I mean, you're obviously still gaining weight, and the bump is actually bumping.
The bump is bumping.
Getting bigger, but I think that you're less hungry than at the beginning of the pregnancy. And that it's a bit more control, and it's not like you have to increase a ton your caloric intake.
No. So going back to the stuff that you mentioned, I think for me at the very beginning, getting pregnant and then with the food stuff, I do think it was a combination of mindset and my body craving more food. I do think that there's just a lot of like changes happening, like with the hormones in your body at the very beginning of pregnancy. It's just like, oh, something is changing here. And so I do think that my body being, I mean, I was not shredded. I was just in great shape overall. Pretty, like looking back, especially now, it's like, oh, I was pretty well in shape. I was pretty lean. When I was that lean, I didn't felt that lean. It's funny, but now looking back, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I looked good.
100%.
Now I'm like, oh, why did I even complain? I did not complain, but back then I thought like, oh, I'm not so defined or lean or whatever. So I think one thing is that the body was definitely trying to put on some reserves, add some body fat to the right places. I mean, especially around my boobs and my bum. I gained weight, so thighs, hips, and my breasts definitely increased in size. And I was like, is this going to continue now until the end of the pregnancy, like in that like rate of gain?
And I mean, especially at the beginning, it was, when you had like still a flat belly.
Yeah.
Then the contrast was quite big.
Yeah.
Now that you have...
now you don't see it that much. Now the bump took over the attention. But I thought that it will also like increase the same rate as it started, and that definitely did not happen to me. It was kind of like a bump up in body weight, in body fat, in storage around the right places, but then it kind of like flattened out. The second thing about like my first trimester and nutrition was definitely a little bit of also mindset, because I was in that place of, oh, now I'm getting pregnant, I will gain weight no matter what, because that's part of pregnancy. I need to have like enough energy. And I mean, I did not eat in a deficit before. Like I was fueling my body, I was eating at maintenance. So it was not like I was starving before pregnancy and then, wow, I wanted to eat like all of it. But there was still some form of mindset around now I can give in a little bit more. Like now I can eat stuff that I would usually not have daily on my plate and not treat myself. Like treat is the wrong word. I did not think about like, oh, I want to treat myself with a burger. It was more so like having a good excuse.
I mean, it's also not like you had a burger every night, right?
No, definitely not. But I had more the excuse of like, oh, will you make me a burger, or will you make me a sandwich, or can we have like something different than we normally have, like something out of the routine. That was more so the mindset I was in.
But at the same time, like what I heard was more often like, hey, I'm hungry, I need to eat something, I think it's time to eat blah 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 XYZ. And it was not so much like, okay, I need to put on some body fat on, or I need to build up my reserve because I'm pregnant and I need to have some more energy on me to be able to sustain that.
No,
So,
exactly.
And I think it
But
was
was it like hunger or was it appetite? Was it just like, you know, when you're consuming? I was also consuming more content around it.
Yeah.
I was consuming more content at the very beginning of my pregnancy from like pregnant people. Like my Instagram feed was like full of it. And so I heard a lot about like women having those cravings for different things, or eating more, or they want the sweet stuff or they want the salty stuff. And I do think it manipulated me. I do think it played some tricks on my mind of like, yeah, I want that too, or I will go for that too, and I can have all of those things. Whereas now I don't have that at all. Like I eat very much exactly the same as I did before pregnancy when it comes to my foods.
Right.
Like,
but I do think, like, I still think that you are a bit more hungry at the beginning.
Yeah.
This is something that and like, absolutely fair enough. It's going to be very, very difficult to know exactly whether it was simply the exposure to that kind of content,
yeah, sure, or a combination,
or whatever. But
we don't know.
And the things that you spontaneously said, then it seems like you were hungrier more often. Whereas now, this is something that happens like every 3-4 days. You're like, hey, I need to eat a bit. I feel hungry. And then now you're also a bit quicker in tracking your calories and see like, okay, what have I eaten already throughout the day? Where am I? And then, having also that kind of reference, which is something that you did not really do at the beginning of your pregnancy.
Yeah, I did not track my food. And then in the second trimester, I started tracking my food more often. Now in the third one, I'm also not tracking my food again. But it helped me because I thought like after the first trimester is like, did I gain weight a little bit like too quick? Let's have a look at my calorie intake and macro intake just to see like where I'm landing. And it definitely helped me to not just go off some vibes when it came to my nutrition, but have a little bit more structure again. Because if you're tracking the stuff, then you're just eating a little bit different. It's
100%.
It's just as it is.
Yeah.
And I think it helped me to gain the structure back in my nutrition. And again, like in the first trimester, I was still eating my 3 meals and had a snack. So it was not like completely off that I would not eat all day and then overeat in the evening or stuff like that. Like I'm not talking about that. So I still had a structure, but a little bit like more dialed in on like my macros and where they should be. And they're not different than what I ate before getting pregnant. Like my protein intake is pretty much the same. My fat intake is also like roughly the same, maybe a little bit higher, but maybe by like 10 grams. It's not like a crazy difference. And then the rest is carbs, which are also sitting somewhere where I would usually sit. Only that in not being like pre-pregnancy, I would have more carbs because I was training also harder and more and with more volume and all those things. So that's why I definitely had a little bit more carb intake, I would say, before pregnancy. But again, it's not like huge. It's not a huge difference when in terms of like numbers.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about that quickly because when we say that, or when you say that, then I'm pretty sure that some women will think, oh, how depressing it is to think about your macros during pregnancy, or it's unhealthy because she tries to control her weight during pregnancy and try to stay as lean as possible and that sort of things. And it's actually not really the reason why you wanted to track. And so I think it's super important to keep in mind that you can also gain too little weight during a pregnancy, and that there are complications at birth, and then for the baby once it's birthed. I don't know how you say it. Once it's born. Thank you. So gaining too little weight is something that can definitely negatively impact both the baby and also the birth giving process. But of course, like gaining too much is also something that can negatively impact the same thing. So labor and the baby. And so there's a specific range that is considered normal, where you have a healthy baby but also a healthy weight gain that's going to help build the placenta and develop the organs that need some changes to be able to then breastfeed and have enough energy reserve for this sort of things, and then be able to kind of sustain, because the recovery from labor and then breastfeeding is something that requires a lot of energy. And nowadays, like the recommendation is roughly 500 calories more per day, but there are definitely some voices arguing that it's actually more like 1,000 to 1,200, because the the energetic demand of recovery for all the tissues that have been hurt during labor potentially. And putting everything back together in place is something that's going to cost a lot of energy. And so you just need like more reserve also for that, not just for pregnancy and the growth of the baby, but also for the few months that come after that. And so it's pretty easy when you are not tracking your food to be below, but also to be above what would be ideal. And
100%.
this is something that we wanted to keep an eye on, because like in terms of number, what's recommended is gaining between 12 to 17 kilos. So that's going to be 26 to 37-ish pounds, 38 pounds maybe. And so we wanted to keep an eye on that. Also make sure that you have enough energy coming in when you are going through pregnancy, so that you still have energy and that you can do some training, do some steps, that you have energy for work and that sort of things. And then again, compare your intake with how your weight is evolving, and then also how you feel, which is what we normally do also outside of a pregnancy. But I feel like this is something that's important to talk about, because what I see on social media is kind of the two extreme of like, I just did not give a fuck and then gain a lot of weight, or I tracked everything to a T and was so controlled that I was able to stay super lean, and then after my pregnancy, after like 2 days, I was back at my normal weight. This is probably a sign that it was a bit too defensive and that the caloric intake was a bit too low during pregnancy.
So what I see definitely a lot is the camp of I don't want to know my body weight.
Mm.
I just, I'm just eating intuitively. I listen to my body, and it will play out as it plays out, and I don't care. I think for some people that can work. I think it can work. If you have never been someone who was under eating or overeating in general, then I think it can work if you have a pretty good like structure with your nutrition. Um, but again, it also doesn't mean that I was tracking every day and that I was weighing myself every day. Like I was not super like if I did not track my stuff or if I did not step on the scale, I was like, whatever,
No problem.
no problem, we'll do it tomorrow, something like that. But it helped me also, like for me, like right now I'm currently not tracking my food intake, but I'm stepping on the scale pretty much every day, I think. And it helps me to keep an eye on my rate of gain, to make sure I'm gaining enough weight, without tracking my food intake. So I know like, okay, I'm eating enough. Like if the baby is developing and I'm gaining at a good rate and I'm feeling good, I'm not hungry, I'm not starving, then I'm like, okay, I'm giving my body what it needs right now, with the meal structure that I had before. So I think also, specifically about nutrition, it comes also down to what have you done, like the prep work that you have done prior to your pregnancy. So if you're planning getting pregnant in the near future, in the next half year, 18 months, whatever, start taking care of your nutrition now. We can also go into supplements and training and all those things, but when it comes to nutrition specifically, make sure that you understand how to fuel your body before this whole pregnancy thing starts. You will just feel better. Like I'm convinced that you will feel better. You will be in a better place, from an energy standpoint, right? If you have made sure that you're giving your body exactly what it needs. And it will give you a solid structure to then play around with in pregnancy, because everyone is different, of course, and even during your pregnancy you will have different stages. You can hear from like my story now that the different trimesters definitely had some changes, that I was going through, and they were very different from each other. So not only will your pregnancy be different than your next pregnancy or the pregnancy from your sister or whatever, but also like within like those 9 months that you are pregnant, you will have some fluctuations. And I think if you have a structure before going into pregnancy, then it will be easier for you to make tweaks and change things up, because you understand a little bit better how your body is responding if you have done the work prior to it. So that would be my recommendation. If you can plan ahead, then do that. It will benefit you. It will benefit your baby, because you will then also have more mental headspace for other stuff that is like going on, and like your whole body is changing, and you need to kind of navigate that, without constantly thinking about nutrition and is this too much or too little or whatever. So I do think for me it was very helpful to have that nutritional structure down to a T before I got pregnant, and then also during the whole pregnancy to make sure that I'm checking in with myself by weighing myself, by tracking my food intake occasionally to make sure that I'm actually eating enough. But I was definitely not following those recommendations of, in the first trimester, you're not increasing your food intake. You're eating exactly as before. In the second trimester, you're adding 250 to 300 calories a day. And then in the last trimester, you're adding 500 to 600 calories a day. Like I was not, and I am not following those recommendations.
but the reason you are able to do that is also because it's based on your own data and how things are evolving, right?
Exactly, because I have that, like, I have that experience of me, my body, and how I'm responding to nutrition and calories and macros and meal timing and food choices, like, prior to pregnancy. And so I would always go off my numbers and my body rather than listening to generic recommendations, which probably can work. I mean, those numbers are not like coming from nowhere. I guess they did some research to see like how energy expenditure is increasing through pregnancy and what your body needs. But that's why, like, for me, it was cooler to be like, hey, I know my body better than any like statistic generic advice I can find out there. It's pretty cool. It's pretty powerful to then go through pregnancy. And the same with like training. We will go into that in the next episode, but there are also a lot of recommendations, generic recommendations out there about how to train and not to train and what to do and blah, 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 blah. And I was definitely not listening to that generic stuff out there. I was basically just going off what I know about myself and my body and what I'm able and capable to do, and listening to that and tuning into that. So
I think we still listen to the advice that was given and the official recommendation, but it was always like, okay, where is that? What are you doing currently? Where is the gap? Do we need to close that? Do we need to make some changes? And what is happening with you in real time? Do we need to even make some changes? So it's not just like, hey, disregard everything that you're being told because it's bullshit. It's absolutely not what we're saying. But what we're saying is just like, hey, having that structure in place is going to be immensely helpful for you to understand like how your body is working outside of the context of a pregnancy. And then once you're there, then it's going to be easier to understand the changes that happens and then tweak your nutrition accordingly based on what happens with your body, but also what you are being told from the doctors around you, the midwives, the official recommendation, and so forth and so on. We are going to talk about supplements before we close that up.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, cool. So, because I feel this is also an important or interesting part of your journey so far. And the reason being is because Dragana has never, like pretty much never taken supplements very consistently. There's like two periods where you did. It was once when you were taking the Chlorellas to detox your legs when you're doing the Camino de Compostela.
Yeah, and when I did not have my period and wanted to gain it back, so it was also like health related. Because I also took the pregnenolone back then for a short period of time. So, but and we did the HTMA, you know, where you then told me like, okay, you need to take this and that, and you need those minerals. And then I was like, okay, let's do that to improve my health and physique.
But even then, it was not for a super long time.
No.
Like you did it very consistently.
Maybe 1 or 2 months.
And then you saw like it had no impact.
Yeah.
And then it was like out the window again.
And then pretty much
after that, you know, going through the whole body transformation cycles and prepping for your photo shoot, the first one, the second one, and then even like when was that? 2 years ago when we went to Miami and you did a quick cut before going there. There was like no supplements.
No.
In the pictures. No like creatine or magnesium or whey or
believe it or not,
whatever.
I did achieve my results without supplements. You can do too, because I think there is a like overemphasis on supplements from like sometimes when I see client consultation forms when they start working with us, I'm like, you are focusing so much on like those nitty-gritty details. And I mean, I'm not against supplements, don't get me wrong, definitely not, can be super helpful, but we also need to make sure you're taking the right stuff for what you actually need, instead of again listening to generic advice on like, yeah, take this and take that, and this is also good. And then you have like at the end the supplement stack of like 10 products that you kind of puzzled together on your own, and you did not even think again if that one thing is even the one thing yet that you still need, or maybe you can swap it out because you have different goals or whatever it is. But I was never taking my supplements, and
Yeah. And now it changed.
now it changed
So
because I have to support a baby boy.
already before the pregnancy, but then throughout pregnancy, you were super consistent with it.
Yeah, it was part of the prep work for pregnancy. So 6 months prior to getting pregnant, I'm someone who is planning very well all the things. There's no surprise.
You are. Yeah.
And so we knew we wanted to have family, and I got like blood work done, and like 6 months prior with the doctor, we put together like a couple of supplements that I would need to prepare my body to be like in a good place once I get pregnant.
And it was like very not
nothing dramatic.
Yeah, nothing dramatic, nothing completely outlandish. It was just like the traditional. I think in retrospect, what we could have done is be a bit more aggressive with iron intake.
Yeah.
Pre-pregnancy.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's pretty much the only one.
Yeah.
The vitamin D came back up within range, like pretty much optimal even before pregnancy. Then during pregnancy, because it's in all supplements nowadays, it was almost a bit on the high side. Same thing with vitamin B12. It was also on the higher side. But essentially the supplement stack was just a good multivitamin.
What were the things you were looking for in a good multivitamin?
No vitamin A or very little vitamin A, because this is something that can be teratogenic, meaning that it can deform the fetus. So it's not something that we want a lot of. And it's also very, very easy to get enough vitamin A from food.
And unfortunately, there are a lot of products out there with vitamin E, even
vitamin A,
even in like prenatal.
Yeah.
So
especially like retinol palmitate, everything that's retinol based is something that we are cautious with, and beta carotenes. It's different. So if you see vitamin A and then you look at the ingredient list and what you see is beta carotene, then that's okay. It doesn't need to be super high, because again, it's so easy to get a lot of beta carotene through your food. You eat like sweet potatoes or carrots.
Everything that's orange, red, yellow.
Yeah, and then you get enough of that. So it's not really something to worry about. So that was one thing that I was looking at. I was also looking at vitamin B12 and vitamin D, because those are like so wildly overdosed, like literally overdosed in some supplements, where you see like it's 10,000% of the RDA. So it's really like a huge amount, which we did not want to have because it was already borderline high for you.
But it was borderline high because of the supplement, right? It was not high before.
So vitamin D, yes, because on your bloods, it was a bit low. It was on the lower side, and then after the supplement, it was higher. But the vitamin B12 is something that you get enough of from food, definitely, and it's not something that you've supplemented.
And then it was just like too much, because in the supplement it was pretty high. It was a pretty high dosage, and so the doctor was also like, it's a little bit too high. And then we were switching to another brand and supplement that had a like lower dosage of B12.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then what's recommended is to get enough folic acid, and so this is also something that I was looking at. And then overall, just what was the amount of the different vitamins and minerals in the supplements. And so if there are a lot of like big disparities between the dosage of the different stuff that's in there. For example, within the vitamin B, if you see like vitamin B1 is normal, then vitamin B2 is super high, and then vitamin B3 is super low, then this is something that I was like, this is not really good, because there are no reason for that. And so I wanted to have something for the multivitamin. I wanted to have something that's kind of flatline, that covers everything, enough of it, but also not too much, because then we can still adjust like some of it individually
Yeah.
if we see through the blood work that
Yeah.
it's still not enough. Nice to have on those product were things like choline, things like minerals, selenium, molybdenum, iron, well, always almost there, zinc, copper, yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah.
So that was one part of it. This is something that you've been taking like throughout the whole pregnancy. Then the other thing was probiotic and digestive enzyme. This is something that you took at some point, like between the first and the second trimester.
Yep. Where I was more bloated, and
you had more bloating.
Yep.
Digestion was not always like as swift as it was before, and so there was like, I don't know, 3-4 months maybe where you took that pretty consistently.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And I think it helped. And so the probiotic, because not all probiotic are the same and are necessarily good. The one you took is Bifidobacterium longum BB536.
Take notes.
10 billions CFU.
Or reach out on Instagram if you're like, if you want the names.
Yeah, but this is like a very good one that 99% of people tolerate, and that's going to help also with digestion. So that was the one that you were taking. And then the digestive enzyme, it was like something with a lot of different enzyme in there. It was not just like, I don't remember exactly, but the typical ones, they focus on one enzyme like lipase or protease or amylase, and it's specifically for one macronutrient that's going to help you digest either protein or fat or carbohydrate a bit better. In that case, it was like kind of broad spectrum, fairly high dosaged, so that it really has an impact on your digestion. And I think it was also enterically coated, so it means that your stomach acid is not going to
decrease,
deactivate, quote unquote, deactivate the enzymes, and so that they are going to have an impact on your positive impact on your digestion. So this is something that you took. And then iron, because we saw that iron, because your iron store are a bit low, and so this is something that was like, okay, this needs to be taken care of. So iron and lactoferrin.
Yeah, and iron with vitamin C.
Yeah,
like it's a combination.
And you also try to get an iron infusion, which your body did not really agree to.
Nope.
So now the change that we made was trying to have the iron supplement like more away from the meals.
Yeah.
So that hopefully the absorption is going to be a bit increased.
Let's see.
And you seem to be tolerating that well. So hopefully it's going to be helpful to also raise your blood level.
And the last two.
Omega-3s?
Omega-3s and magnesium.
Oh, yeah, magnesium. Oh, yeah, because...
Cramps.
So
night
magnesium,
cramps.
And I also like... I made you a mineral cocktail sometimes.
Yeah, some cocktail. A mocktail.
With a bit of potassium citrate.
We need a name. Not cocktail, not mocktail, but smocktail. Because it's a supplement.
Not bad. A smocktail. Not bad. essentially electrolyte,
Yeah.
right? But specifically magnesium bisglycinate because it's absorbed a bit better. 300 to 600 milligrams. 600 milligrams is better, but this is the one I feel like you tend to forget a bit about the most. And the potassium has been mainly like when you're experiencing some cramping, more than anything. So just acutely when it was needed. And omega 3s, I don't remember exactly the dosages. I think it's like 1500 milligrams. Like the 4 capsules, 1500 milligrams.
Okay.
And then it's going to be the ratio of EPA to DHA, I think, is 2:1. Something like that. So
I believe you.
the thing that I looked for that one supplement was that it was lab tested, and that there was also there was a specific label for rancidity and toxicologic load, something like that. So there's no heavy metal. It's been tested for heavy metal, but also that the product is not rancid, which is something that can happen very often with omega 3s.
And we store them in the fridge.
And we store them in the fridge. But yeah, that's pretty much it. At the beginning, we were also thinking, or I was thinking about maybe using some extra choline for like nervous system development. This is something that we haven't done. I don't know exactly why. Maybe because of budget and also because of convenience. And
because it was also part of the multivitamin.
It was part of the multi, and then it was also like there's some emerging evidence that this is something that can be helpful, but it's also not a staple. So we're like, okay, we're not going to do that one for now. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I'm very consistent with it. I'm very proud of myself.
As you can tell.
Consistent with my supplement.
Yeah. Right.
Supplements. But yeah, I think if you can prepare and if you are planning to get pregnant, then prepare for it. That's like my biggest advice. It's not that everything is like how do you say that? Lost when you have not prepared. You can also then do the stuff while being pregnant. No problem with that. But if you can take the time before to prepare, it will probably be better, because then you are giving just your body what it needs, and you're filling up your storages, and you're giving your body, especially also when it comes to like calorie intake and macro and micronutrient intake, the best setup to then thrive through pregnancy. I'm 100% like convinced that for me, all the work that I have done previously, and I got this question in my DMs actually. It's like, hey, what did you do to, like, why are you able to go through pregnancy and thrive and glow, and everything is going so smooth and you're in good shape? And I'm like, I think truly it's what I did the last years, like the last 5 years of my journey, the work that I put in transforming my body, not only for like aesthetics and looking leaner, but improving my body composition and therefore my health, and also like getting stronger overall in my body, putting on some muscle mass, which will lead us to the next episode where we will talk about training specifically and what I have done, not done, changed, not changed, while being pregnant. So if you want to listen to that, then tune into the next episode as well. I hope this was helpful. I hope you could take something away from this episode for your own journey. No matter if you're currently already pregnant, congratulations, or if you're planning to have a baby anytime soon.
That's all.
That's all for today.
Bye-bye.
Bye.